All right. So is littering a political statement or are people just lazy? Comes from some research that you might have done.
Yeah. It's research that I've done, and that in fact I believe is the most underreported and underappreciated of the studies I've done. We were able to predict before the polls closed the outcome of the election. It was a presidential election at 9 separate polling stations.
Okay.
By just putting a flyer on the windshield of people who had parked in the lot and gone in to vote. Half of them were for the Democrat, half were for the Republican. And then we counted whether they threw the flyer on the ground when they came out and took it off their windshield or kept it with them, right? And we just took the reciprocal of the amount of each candidate that was on the ground. The more flyers of a particular candidate that were on the ground, the more likely that candidate was going to win the election in that polling place. We had 9 polling places, and we predicted it 9 times.
Wow.
I love that.
So what people keep with them or divest from themselves determines how they feel about this entity, right? And so we published that. We're very proud of it, how we were, without even asking, when people were coming out, these exit polls that sometimes get it all wrong, we got it right 9 out of 9 times just by looking at whether they littered or kept a flyer with the candidate they had just voted for.
That is such a simple yet really insightful way of kind of judging people's reactions to that. That is fascinating.
We didn't do the follow-up research, but we were thinking of, I wonder if we could judge with what force they threw the rivals' flyer to the ground to see how much that candidate lost the election in that particular poll. Right. But it seems you could do it with all kinds of things besides candidates. You could do it with products. You could do it with political positions.
Yeah.
Of one sort or another. This country's approach to the Middle East. Yeah. We could get all kinds of opinions that weren't influenced by social enhancement concerns, where they weren't thinking of, well, what are you going to think of me if I say I like this candidate or I don't like this candidate, and so on. Get all of that effect out of there, because they didn't know we were looking at their littering behavior. We weren't even in their line of sight. We were hidden. We just looked at whether the flyer hit the ground.
You look at the ground after
they drove away. Right?
Oh man.